Count us in, Javaughn.
Good night, good afternoon, good morning. How you guys doing out there?
What's up, JJ? How's it going down there in Texas?
Hey, it's going great, man. How you guys doing?
Awesome. Out here with my Symmetry fam, my buddies, Mr. Mike and Scott Forehand.
This like old times, man. Late at night, hanging out together, just like old times.
Ain't that the truth?
Very cool.
Well, as you guys can see, we have the Debt Free Life Chat Business Edition, and we're live. Oh, man.
Awesome.
This one came to my head. This one came, and I couldn't think of anyone else when I heard the Business Edition. I want to thank you guys for, pulling it from my head to a reality and being my mentors. And, you always said James pulled you to Debt Free Life Seminar. And I always say Scott pulled me to the Debt Free Life Seminar, and now look at us. So without further ado, my name is Javaughn Spencer. I'm going to let you guys, you guys are big dogs. Y'all introduce yourselves. I don't got enough.
Yeah, I don't think we're the big dogs. You're the man running the show. But anyway, my name is James Johnson, and out here in East Texas. And been doing Debt Free Life now for a little about right at a year now. So we've got a lot of clients on it and rolling, and they love it.
Well, yeah, that's JJ. I think you and I were in the same class, brother.
We
learned about this. That's where we first met. Yep, that was awesome. So my name is Scott Forehand. I've been doing Debt Free Life since July of 2019. And it's an amazing program, and it works for just about everybody that I've run into. So I'm excited as all get out to be here. Thank you very much for inviting me. And I'm in beautiful, hot, wet, muggy Southeast Virginia, right up there on the coast. So there you go.
My name is Javaughn Spencer, and if it wasn't for you guys, I promise you I would still be trying to figure out what's Debt Free Life all about. Tell me, Scott. Tell me, Jay. All those late nights trying to figure it out. And I thank you, Scott finally said, you have to go. You have to go learn it. And that was all it took. And it changed my life. It changed my business. It changed my family's life. And I just want to thank you both for that. You didn't have to. This is incredible what we're able to do for the community. And I'm in beautiful Beaufort, South Carolina. And the biggest part of that I loved about it is because we always talk about debt-free life when it comes to the individual, right? Like I spend countless of hours every week, individual, what can we do for the individual? And then we were at that seminar and we found out that it's even bigger for businesses. And it can be pretty intimidating to, think of, I know for me, I was like, oh man, I'm going to go talk to a business owner. I remember how that used to be. I used to be the business owner, and I would send if you didn't wait 3 hours for me, it wasn't important enough, and that was that guy. And now it's like, man, we can change business. I mean, I remember when I was in business and ran it in the ground, and I just sit back and think about, oh my goodness, if I had debt-free life back then, I probably wouldn't have had to, I probably wouldn't have lost my business the way I lost it due to funding, What are you guys seeing, like when you, what clicked with the business solutions and for you guys with this?
Go, JJ.
Well, for me, it was when I saw it was kind of a very intriguing and interesting because I was actually in the insurance business about 20 years ago, and this was exactly what I did. I actually went and saw business owners and showed them how to use a similar product to do exactly what we're showing with DFL. Except with this DFL program, it's just prettier, it's cleaner, it's self-explanatory, and it's just like it's got dates for people to pay off the debts and what to do next, and it's just an outline on how you can get to where you want to be, by date. And so people can see, and they get that when it's a 5, 7, 10, 12-year program. But you tell somebody, hey, you're going to be out of debt in 30 years. Well, who can start a program for 30 years?
Right.
Except on your mortgage. But except in this, to get out of debt, I mean, it just lays it all out for you. I mean, it's just a nice, clean example of how you can run everything.
Yeah, I agree. And the some of the other things that we've seen some of the systems that have been put out there before us, and every one of those systems has an Achilles heel. And when they were developing this system, the Symmetry brainiacs that figured this thing out, what they did is they took a hard look at all those other systems and figured out where those Achilles heels were. And that's how this plan came about. It came about with, all those potential pitfalls, they're gone. And when the biggest one that I can think of is that one of those other systems requires that the stock market has a 12% return every year for 9 out of 10 years. That doesn't happen. No. So, those other systems, they all fail at some point. And luckily the people that developed this had their head screwed on straight, and they took all that guesswork out of it. And then when you look at the incredible effect of compound interest, where in a normal amortization schedule it's working against you, we've turned this whole thing on its head. We're making debt work for you instead of against you. And that's what I love about this. I love, when opposites win. This is the underdog beating the snot out of that stuff that's been out there before. I love it. So yeah, man, this is awesome.
Let's hop on into it. Let's not keep them waiting anymore. Like, so who's going first? Like, which businesses have you helped and was so impactful, and kind of share with us, like, obviously without names, but who were you able to help, and how did the conversation come about?
Go, JJ.
Well, I had a friend of mine actually kind of put me in contact with a local guy here, and we went to work on what he was trying to do, what he wanted to accomplish for retirement, as well as getting out of debt. And so we put together a program for him. I mean, and it's amazing. I mean, the guy, he runs a company, large company, but at the same time, he wanted to be out of debt. And I showed him how we can not only get him out of debt, but also how to take the same funds that he was using before and how we can get him out of personal debt as well. And so that's what I was going to share with you guys tonight, man. It's a cool deal.
How did you do it?
Huh?
Ready for me to hop in there to show us?
I'm going to share the screen. It's posted there now. This is kind of an exception to the rule, but I think but business owners are all different, right? Now, this guy, we were looking at using about $6,200 a month. Okay, so it's a little bit different for them, but what we were able to do is take that same money, because he wanted to retire at 70 with $100,000 a year income. He wanted to, but his biggest thing was his personal residence. He had just bought a home, $444,000 home, and wanted to be out of debt there, as well as be able to retire with not only his 401k money, but also, anything else. And so what we did is we put this option together for him. He had some funds that we actually took and used and paid an annual premium. But it's remarkable when people see how this thing works. It's crazy. So
right here, he was going to be already in debt over 29 years.
Yeah, I mean, 29 years, including his house. But here's his credit cards. He actually had, when it all was said and done, he actually had these other credit cards. It was a total of about $55,000 in credit card debt. a personal truck, and his residence. So when you look at it, we just automatically always think, hey, this mortgage, yeah, it's $450,000, and it is what it is. But it doesn't have to be that way. And so that's what we show him in this, taking the numbers that he has. And then when we scroll down and we look at total number of years he was going to be in debt, 29.3, the interest paid, 406,000.
Almost close to the amount of the original debt. Wow.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So the real debt is this $911,000. So that's what we really have to make people more aware of, is this idea that this debt can be taken away systematically, and you can save, like we said, that $406,000 of interest paid. Well, where does that go to if we're not paying it to the lenders? It's coming back into your pocket, right? So that's huge. So when we got down here and we ran it, and everybody's first comments is usually, man, it sounds too good to be true, or what's the catch, or how is this really going to work for me? And I've said, well, the way our program works, it's going to work exactly the way we're showing you. And when we plugged his numbers in, we actually have him out of debt in 6.4 years.
Wow.
And I mean, he and his wife both were just shocked. And he's like, okay, you got to help me get my head wrapped around this, because that doesn't make any sense. I've never heard. He said, the only thing I hear from some of the people I've talked to is, if I want more money down the road, I need to invest more money. Well, that's true, and that can work if you have it, but it also can work against you too, depending on the interest rate that you're getting. I mean, just like on credit cards, you're paying 15 to 22%. If I'm taking extra money and I'm putting it into the market and it's only getting me 10%, am I getting ahead, or am I going further behind if my credit card debt keeps going up and I'm paying 15 or 22% on that debt? So it was just, it's crazy, because not only that, but it's an interesting, whole interesting conversation, because we take this, like I said, it's probably one of the larger cases that we've had, putting in $6,200 a month. But at the same time, based on his goals and his income and different things like that going on, we're also able to come out with this at age 70. So at a retirement income, he was wanting $100,000 a year. Well, we have him at $80,000 a year of tax-free income, even after we've got his debts paid off in 6.4 years.
Wow.
I mean, he loved it.
I have a question, JJ, for you. I know he wanted that goal of $100,000 a year, but before he met you, did he have a plan to get there? Like, did he walk in and say, well, I want to retire at 70, I want $100,000 a year, and this is what I was told to do it? Or was it just a pie in the sky, like, I want $100,000 a year? Like, did they have anything, in place to reach that goal eventually?
He had a couple of things going. I mean, like I said, he's contributing to a 401k plan. He had a small IRA.
Tax. That's all I heard. Tax.
Exactly. And I wrote down these numbers because, it's interesting that, after we figured it all up, I don't know, every state's a little bit different as far as creditor protection laws. But when you're owning a company, one of the things that you want to protect is your assets, right? Well, if you have your money in a bank or IRAs or stock market, all those things can be reached by lawsuits. Whereas this program, we're funneling those funds through something that's a contract. So nobody, if you're sued, if you have a lawsuit or anything like that, it can't be reached. So your money's growing tax deferred, and you're pulling it out you can pull it out tax free. Okay. So there's stipulations there, but if you play the game right, it works beautiful.
Man, that's awesome. My case is kind of interesting. I caught close to a million on it. It was really But that's phenomenal. Thanks for sharing, JJ. That's
Awesome stuff, JJ.
Yeah, you bet.
I'm jumping in before Scott. I'm jumping. I'm getting in front of Scott, JJ.
Go ahead, man.
I wanted to share mine. This one was really unique because this one came from a social media post that I had, and gentleman contacted me, and it was kind of it was nice. It was kind of awkward because I didn't know anything. I didn't know what I was walking into at all. You ever had one of those where they just said, I heard about your debt program. Can you meet me and see me? And I realized that I knew nothing. And I show up and it's like property, house, home. It was a whole bunch of things happening. And I just remember, this is the part I love about this program is because we say we're going to get you out of debt. Well, guess what? I found out business owners try to debunk that. Like when you say under 10 years, you guys have that happen? Like they try to throw more stuff at you to try to see if, where's the falsity is at, if that's a word. But
yeah, man, I had a law firm that did that exact thing with me, tried to debunk all this stuff. And they were using all those other plans that failed before to try to explain how this wasn't going to work. And they're so wrong.
And I walk in there with confidence, right? And I didn't even know the debts, but what he is he has a lot of properties. He's a landlord. He's cash flow positive. This is the part that's so mind-boggling because I know we always talk a lot about debt, right? But we all agree there's good debt and bad debt. So when people that have good debt hear about this, they always sometimes dismiss it because we're not saying all debt is bad. Well, he's making money right now, hand over fist. Okay. But what he realized was his focus was legacy to his children. He has a real estate empire, but they all have mortgages, so he wanted to pay it off quickly so that he'll be cash flow positive and that his children have paid for assets so he can travel the world. Imagine dealing with people that's talking about debt all day and you get someone that has close to $1 million in debt talking about, I want to travel the world. So I remember putting all the debts in, and the contribution for this one was nothing but like $1,000. It wasn't anything crazy. It was just $1,000. And current debt would have been 24.6 years. 24.6 years, over $270,000 for just interest alone. That could be a property that could be just a new property, actually. And what we ended up doing was we're paying everything in 6.8 years. That 6.8 years, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. About 7 different properties with land.
Wow.
And a vehicle, off of just $1,000. It was like $1,000 a month, and then just start knocking out a couple credit cards. And it was shocking, And I must say, that person is my best referral agent right now. I mean, who wouldn't want a referral out that after you see that? Because it's amazing. So that was one real quick real estate. That made me change my tune about what debt-free life can do for people because, I'm not sure about you guys, but I tend to focus heavily a lot of with debt, thinking debt. But then when you realize that a cash flow positive property can even be a bigger, greater asset if it's paid off, as the real estate is increasing, as the values are increasing and they have no mortgage to it. Now you just liquid all the way around. So that was awesome to see. And
yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, man.
It's huge.
Big time. I love to see it when you can tie different types of retirement vehicles, retirement strategies together, and then, compound the compound. And that's what, using real estate as a vehicle is great. Having been a mini property real estate owner myself, it's great until they don't go rent it. And then now it's not an asset. It's a huge liability. So I'm a firm believer that there's a place for real estate, and you can certainly use DFL, debt-free life, to get there as part of that plan. But diversification is the key, I think. So
Definitely agree.
So
tell us what you got, Scott. Who did you help?
Hold on. I'm going to ask one more question about your guy. So you said you met your guy on social media, right?
Uh-huh.
And he's a walking, talking billboard for you right now, right?
Yeah.
That is awesome. So have you made an opportunity or had any discussions with him about maybe expanding his horizons, about being not just a recommending person, but maybe something more?
All day long.
Okay.
All day long.
Okay.
And he says, that's not my thing, Spence. I just sent them to you. So I said, okay. He says the inside joke is, I'm Santa to my kids, but Mr. Spencer's going to be Santa to me this year.
There you go. Right on. All right. Well, that's good stuff, man. So the guy, the person I'm going to talk about is a contractor. And if you ever have worked with contractors before, there's really a couple different ways they do business. One way is they're funding the whole project themselves, and they usually take out short-term or mid-term loans to do that. And they're taking draws on it over time. Another way, if they're contracted as a GC, where there's someone else who's ordered them to do the work or has signed a contract for them to do the work, then they'll be getting a regular draw, usually in thirds, to go out and do the work. But the interesting thing about that scenario is that when you get that draw, whether it's from your bank, if you're funding the whole project yourself, or if you're getting the loan because you're the GC, you're getting a 1/3 payment up front from your client, there's never a time where you're using all that money at one time. So you've got this big chunk of change sitting in a bank, earning that, or maybe 0.25 or maybe 0.5%. So why in the world wouldn't you put it into a DFL campaign where you're going to earn 4% and make that money work for you permanently? Okay, so that's the concept we have with this gentleman. And we also have some other debts, it's just some business debts and some basic family debt we looked into. Not a lot, but let me go ahead and show you what I'm talking about, get a little bit deeper into it. And hold on one second. And here we go. So this gentleman has some standards. One of those things that sticks out right in the beginning of this is that Lowe's card. So he's a general contractor, but that Lowe's card that he had about a $70,000 limit. And he had just recently paid it down to about $8,500 when we first met. Had 2 vehicles, both of which were construction vehicles. Had a revolving personal loan that he used to dip into when the Lowe's card wouldn't suffice for whatever he had to buy. And then he had 2 other credit cards. One was for the family and one was for his business. And of course, he had his personal residence. So in this scenario, what we were looking at is if he stopped ever putting any more money on any of those cards, which wasn't going to happen, and put himself in a situation where he was just going to be basically making the money, taking in the money, paying off the debt. It was going to take him 25 years to get out of debt. That's not bad. And he would have a good chunk of change, 100% equity in his home, but he was going to pay $362,000 in interest over that time period. So his basic debt, if he could write a check right now to cover everything, $602,000, that number, 362, is a killer. And then when you look at his total debt, he's almost $1 million in debt. And he's a relatively young guy. He's got a great company. He's got a great business, but he's not spending his money efficiently. So when we stepped in, we did the numbers, ran the numbers. And here's the first thing we came up with. So 13.5 years, which is still a good deal for this guy, considering
how much per month is he contributing?
It's 16.
$1,600 a month.
Yep. Yeah, that's where we found out where he was making overpayments and all that other stuff. So it was $1,600 a month that we used from this. But here's the cool thing. On his current track, he was expecting to have everything paid off in 20 years, have $400,000 or $500,000 there, sitting there. But here's the when he does what we're talking about, and let me show you the next part. So this isn't important, but here's his plan. We're going to save him $100,000 in interest, which is great, and we're going to build $1.3 million in liquid cash, $1.7 million in liquid cash plus death benefit. But we took this to a step further, and we're actually leveraging the DFL program, because look at this. So it's taken him 13.6 years to pay off this loan, his house. But in between year 5 and year 13, there's nothing happening. And he's building up all this cash value, right? Just so he can get to that point where he can pull the trigger and pay off his house at $156,000 in one shot. There's a better way. So what we did is we executed a mortgage chunking plan where instead of building this cash up constantly and having to have this money funnel into a second bank, we're taking $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 every quarter, and we're throwing it at that mortgage, and we're destroying the mortgage. So the actual execution of this plan, when you get to that point, is about 10.6% faster. So instead of getting him out of debt in 13 years, we're out of debt in closer to 11. Moreover, after that, he wanted to retire at 65. At 65, he's going to have $906,000. But really, when we do that, the next step is we actually take we do a daisy chain annuity stack with this, which means we're taking another $10,000 or $15,000 tranche. Once you get used to doing those mortgage chunking payments, then it's just like having a bill that you're regularly accustomed to paying. And now all of a sudden the mortgage is gone. So what do you do with it? You buy stacked annuities. And then that creates, in this gentleman's case, it was an additional, after a 15-year run, it was an additional $440,000 just from the growth on the annuities. And these are Roth annuities because we're using post-tax. We're taking loans, letting it season in our account. And because of the nature of his business, he's got lots of money going in and out of the account. So it's easy to say the money's been there for 3 months. I use that money to pay my bills, and the bill money that I was using to pay, I'm actually saving and using that to buy these annuities. So it's certainly plausible, and it gets past some of those concerns that we have about whether or not you're using loaned money to buy an annuity or things like that. But the point that we're getting at here is that we're making our money work for us over and over and over. The DFL campaign does that automatically. That's what it's designed to do. But when you couple that with another, this is what I was talking about earlier, when you said, Javaughn, when you're talking about your guy doing the real estate stuff, it's the same thing. It's just a second investment vehicle. And so now you've got 2 investment vehicles essentially using the same money, and you got growth in 2 places. But what we're getting is an additional, whenever we look at that retirement age, using these, if the people are young enough, and this gentleman's 40 years old when we started this plan, we're looking at an additional 30 to 40% return using the same money, not doing anything else. And now one more thing.
That's amazing is, number one, nothing that you said is even possible of losing $1.
Correct.
Like when I find myself in spaces and conversations where they got all these financial products where they still have the ability to possibly lose $1. Our license does not allow us to lose $1.
Exactly.
So when you come up with all this, yes, it might be confusing because not many people are, number one, talking about how to get you out of debt to give you these options for this type of retirement. That's the funny part to me because everyone has something to say about the money we're saving.
Right.
But not realizing that if you could talk to me how to save $100,000 in interest, that's money that I would never, ever see. Maybe I'll listen to you talk to me more about wealth. Maybe I'll listen to you talk to me more about retirement by you helping me, get out of debt. And that's where it's just like, man, that's why I wanted to come together more often because we can really change so many trajectories of people that's, you know, never even thought about what this can do.
Well, Javaughn, it's like what you're saying. It gives people, it helps people have um, the options, right? So options are created when you can go in and you can pay those debts off, and then you have more money to think about how I can put it, how I can use it in a different way for retirement. Whereas most of the time, our traditional way that we're taught or we think about things, just like mortgages. I mean, people go, yeah, I want a 30-year mortgage. And they don't, and that's all they think about. But when you're looking at just like saving the hundreds of thousands of dollars in interest, I mean, just like our guy, we're going to save him $270,000 of interest alone. Now, what is that savings from his interest? How much is that going to earn in and above what the other things that we're doing? So, I mean, there's so many different options that you can have because we're doing it in a unique way. Whereas it's not the traditional, open a book and okay, everybody who walks in, all right, you need to save more. We need to set up an IRA. We need to do it's kind of out of the box way of looking at this.
Yep. And I love it because one of the key things that we're doing here is a lot of people in businesses, especially businesses that do draws, businesses that put money in and save money out, and as seasonal businesses, or people, this is perfect for people that are 1099s because you got to save money for taxes. You got to pay it quarterly or annually or wherever you're at. Why not put the money up into a DFL? Let it sit there and work for you forever, not just pay the money the one time. Put the tax money in, let it sit there, let it earn, churn and burn, take a loan out, pay your taxes, but your money's still up there because you're not using your money to pay the loan or pay the debt, pay the tax. You're using the carrier's money to pay the tax. And oh, by the way, do you have to pay back loans? Kind of. It'll automatically happen for you one way or another. It's awesome.
Yeah. It's like giving that every dollar to jobs.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the cool part about this. Like you were saying, you send it up there, you get credit for it from the rest of the time. That money's the time. So yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah, it's powerful, super powerful.
Well, my new approach for me is to really focus on the business owners, not only the business owners that think that they have a cash flow issue or anything like that, but just to present it to those for the tax-free portion.
Yeah.
I think when a business owner is doing really good, they don't really. I think every business owner looks at taxes the same way we do. So and that's the less I pay, the more I keep. I think that mindset is there. So I think that's the one angle. And also just educating those that might not have a big enough business for retirement for a 401k. So they really plan on using that bank account as the 401k, as the retirement,
And the great thing about this for businesses too, Javaughn, is, a lot of times a lot of the businesses I used to see years ago, and it still happens today, they're not big enough to really offer a 401k, but they want to have something that they can set up for themselves and their families, but they really don't want to offer the 401k because now they have to contribute to all the employees and all that. Not saying that that's a bad thing at all, but sometimes as a business, you got to make sure you're protected so you can keep keeping these employees employed, right? So this is a way that you can set it up in a discriminatory way that's legal, and you can build on top of it and use it to buy equipment, use it to buy, vehicles for your business or inventory or anything like that you want to do. So it's
and the other thing, the reality is, if we have a business owner that's saving $100,000, do you think they're a little bit strapped to give a little bit of a pay raise to the employees?
Oh yeah.
Do we think that the conversations about advancement or more money when your business owner is more liquid is out of realm? So I always say to the employees, hey, please let your owner know we got a program that can get rid of the good debt and the bad debt. We got a program to get rid of all debt, good and bad. And ultimately, that I think the number was like 300 more a paycheck or something, just to from
Yeah.
just the savings. So you know,
Well, here's one more thing you can do with this from a business perspective and an employee relationship perspective. You can provide these plans to your employees. And as an employee benefit, not key man insurance, but as an employee benefit, the company, if it's structured correctly, can actually write that off on their taxes. And you don't have to give everybody the same solution. You can have an executive benefit package and an employee benefit package. And in those two scenarios, the executive, as long as the executive is an employee, you can give the executive one of these packages. And so when you're talking about setting up a 401k with a match, this 17 out of 20 years, this is going to exceed what that 401k is going to perform at. 17 out of 20. So you're giving somebody something that the IRS isn't going to be able to tell them you have to wait until you're 65 to take, or not going to tell you, okay, you're 72, now you have to take it. Okay, this is completely up to them. So not only are you giving them potentially access to a life insurance policy, but think about this. It's an unemployment insurance policy because it builds cash really quickly. So in that scenario, it's phenomenal.
Let me tell you, I'm glad I went in on your face, because I'm just sitting here. I got a nugget from you. I did not recognize that at all. And I thank you for that nugget, because that's, amazing. Those that want to contribute to their employees, they can put a debt-free life for their employees. They can access it immediately if they need to. Don't have to wait till 59 and a half for penalty. So no early withdrawals at all. They can, and this insurance covers critical, chronic, terminal in most cases. And it's a write-off for the company.
Business.
For the business.
Right. As long as it's got to be the right kind of corporation. You can't do it with an LLC. It's got to be a S Corp.
Got to be an S Corp.
Yep. Or C Corp. C Corps can do it too.
Scott, wow. I knew it was going to be a nugget. Hey, I'll take it. That's game changer.
That's a good one. Yeah.
That's a game changer.
So that client I showed you earlier, the only reason I know this is because we went down that road with him. He's got 13 employees. We're writing 13 DFLs on every one of their employees. The company's paying for it.
Wow.
Small. They're only like $120 each, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And they can contribute more to it later, but that's it. And as far as I know, all three of the carriers we use all do list bill, so you can actually have it come directly from the client,
which is the business.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't know what more to say, man. I want to thank you guys. I know me and Scott, me and Jay, we can go 2-3 hours, but we're not gonna hold everyone to it. Real quick, kind of share with everyone how can we contact you? They got a tough choice. They got to choose between which one of us will they want to deal with. So how can they find you?
Or not. They could use all three of us at the same time if they wanted.
Hey, we're probably going to all call Scott or JJ, or someone's going to call me for a question anyway, so why not? But how can they find you, Scott?
Find me?
Yeah.
You can check out my website. Go there, forehandfinancialsfg.com. You can call me directly, 757-567-5726. Or you can email me at scottinsuresSFG@gmail.com.
Talk to us, JJ. How can we find you?
All right. I've got a website at yourdebteliminator.com, as well as a phone number is 903-520-1460. And email address is jamesprotects4life@gmail.com.
Well, that's awesome. And I'm Javaughn Spencer. You can check out My Debt Free Life at hopedebt.com. Hope stands for helping other people escape debt.com. Or you can call or text me at 843-597-9242. And thank you guys for hanging out. Hope we can impact a few businesses and make them more profitable for the community as well. I know you guys are able to do Debt Free Life nationwide. So please don't let the area stop you. We're all licensed. We can hop on a Zoom with any one of you guys and take care of it just like you're doing right now. So have a good night, have a good afternoon, and have a good morning.
Hey, Javaughn, thanks, man. Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Javaughn. Thanks, DJ.
Y'all have a great one.
See you guys.